Like I mentioned in the full review, I am really impressed by the new Skullcandy Hesh ANC, and these headphones have me really excited for the future of Skullcandy. And I feel the Hesh ANC are so good, they give both the Sony WH-CH710N and the Sennheiser HD450BTs a real run for their money. So if you're looking for a pair of entry-level headphones, let's see which one's right for you. Now, normally, I wouldn't compare the Hesh ANC to the Sony WH-CH710N or the Sennheiser HD450BTs because both of these headphones retail for $200, whereas the Hesh ANC have a retail price of $130. But both of these headphones routinely like to go on sale for around $150, and on major shopping holidays, they can be found on sale for as low as $99. Now, I know some people are going to say that I should be comparing these headphones to the Skullcandy Venue, but like I've mentioned in the past, I don't like these headphones, and I vastly prefer the Hesh ANC over the Venues. So for that reason, I think it's fair to compare the Hesh ANC to the Sonys and Sennheisers. Now, all three of these headphones are very different from one another, but if you want to pick any of these headphones up, they will be linked down below. Now, first off, let's address their carrying cases. Unfortunately, the 710Ns don't come included with any kind of case or pouch, and quite frankly, I think it's time that Sony should, because the majority of the competition does throw in some kind of a case with their entry-level headphones, because both the Hesh ANC and HD450BTs come included with a carrying pouch. Now, these pouches aren't the greatest, and I do recommend that you still invest in a hardshell carrying case if you do plan on traveling a lot with your headphones. But at least it's something. But now let's talk about their build quality. Now, all three of these headphones have decent build quality, and they all have zero cracking or squeaking whenever you handle or flex them. But they're all very different. The Sennheisers are the most durable feeling headphones here. They have a mostly smooth plastic body and silicone underneath their headband. These headphones are so durable, they don't even need a case. The Hesh ANC are the most premium feeling headphones here because their ear cups have a slight soft touch finish to them, their arms are glossy, their headband has a slight slate finish to it, and the leatherette on these headphones doesn't feel half bad. And the Hesh ANC also get extra points here for being the only headphones here that are both fully collapsible, and they have fully swiveling ear cups. But finally, there are the Sonys. Now, these headphones have decent build quality, but they aren't as durable feeling as the Sennheisers, and they surely don't feel as premium as the Skullcandy. Now, these headphones have a textured plastic body, and their headband has a good click to it whenever you extend it. But the biggest letdown for me about these headphones is their leatherette. The leatherette on these headphones feels very coarse, whereas the leatherette on these other two headphones is a lot smoother and softer. But like I said, the Sonys are decent, but if you want something more durable, you should go with the Sennheisers, or if you want something that feels more premium, you should go with the Skullcandy. But when it comes to fit, the Sonys are the most comfortable headphones here for multiple reasons. First off, there's clamping force. The Sonys have the least amount of clamping force here, whereas both the Sennheisers and Skullcandy have a firmer fit to them. Now, all three of these headphones are big head approved, but you do have to give the Skullcandy a good stretch when you first get them. But even after a good stretch, they're not going to fit as loose as the Sonys. So, if you're looking for something with a looser fit, then you'll definitely want to go with the Sonys. But then, there's also the ear pads on these headphones. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of their coarse-feeling leatherette, the Sonys do have the roomiest earpads here, whereas the earpads on both the Skullcandy and Sennheiser are nowhere near as roomy. Now personally, I can make the earpads on the Skullcandy work with my average size ears, but the earpads on the Sennheisers can be rather cramped. So, if you have larger ears, then you'll definitely want to go with the Sonys. However, one critique that I do want to point out about these earpads is that even though they are spacious, they are a little shallow. So if you have ears that stick out a lot, then they might still press down on them. But overall, when it comes to comfort, the Sonys are the most comfortable headphones here because of their minimal clamping force and roomy ear cups. The Skullcandy come in second, albeit they do have a firmer fit and smaller earpads, and unfortunately the Sennheisers do come in last here because of their very cramped earpads. But now let's talk about tech specs. Now, all three of these headphones charge via a USB-C port as they should, and all three of these headphones have decent battery lives. But the Skullcandies are trailing behind here a little bit by comparison. The Hesh ANC have an advertised battery life of 22 hours with their active noise cancellation turned on, but with their active noise cancellation turned off, they have an advertised battery life of 30 hours. Whereas the Sennheisers have an advertised battery life of 30 hours with their active noise cancellation turned on, and the Sonys have an advertised battery life of 35 hours with their active noise cancellation turned on. But just like with the Skullcandies, if you were to use either of these headphones with their ANC turned off, then you'll be able to stretch out their battery lives. But still, if you're looking for something with the longest battery life here, then you do want to go with the Sonys. Now when it comes to Bluetooth connectivity, all three of these headphones are using Bluetooth 5.0, but only the Sennheisers can actually be connected to two devices at the same time, so that you can easily hot swap from one device to another, which could be a big deal for power users out there. Whereas both the Sonys and Skullcandies can only be connected to one device at a time. Now ultimately it's not a huge deal if your headphones have simultaneous multi-device connectivity, but it is nice to have. But more importantly, when it comes to watching movies or videos on your phone, all three of these headphones have a zero latency across the board, whether you're using an iPhone or any Android device, which is always great. Now, just as a pro tip, if you are experiencing some latency, just close the app and start it back up, and then your headphones should sync up. Now, when it comes to audio codecs, both the Skullcandies and Sonys have support for SBC and AAC, whereas the Sennheisers have support for SBC and AAC, but they also have support for higher quality audio codecs like aptX and aptX low latency. But if you want to, you can still just use a wired connection with any of these headphones because all of these headphones still have an audio jack. Now, I know this sounds basic, but I do want to point it out because a lot of headphones in this price range are starting to remove their audio jacks.
But now let's talk about listening to music with these headphones. Without a doubt, the HD 450BTs are the best sounding headphones here. Now, even though these headphones have an adjustable EQ, I feel these headphones sound best when they're set to their stock neutral EQ. Now, in their stock EQ, these headphones have strong mids, so vocals are front and center, and the bass on these headphones resonates nice and deep. Now, the bass on these headphones is going to rattle your head, but not all that much, but it's something. But performance-wise, these headphones have far better instrument separation and a much wider soundstage than these other two headphones. Plainly said, if you're looking for the headphones here with the best sound, then the HD 450BTs are the way to go. And these headphones sound great whether they have their ANC turned on or off. But also, thanks to their adjustable EQ, you can make them sound however you want. So if you want more bass in your music, you can do that. But generally speaking, these headphones are better suited for people who like a more neutral or vocals-focused EQ. Next up are the Skullcandy Hesh ANC. And even though I like how these headphones sound, they do have some drawbacks. For starters, these headphones sound very different when they have their ANC turned on versus when they have their ANC turned off. If you want to get the best sound out of these headphones, you gotta use them with their ANC turned off, because with their ANC turned on, they are going to get narrowed up a lot and their bass won't resonate as deep or hit as hard. Now, as with any other pair of Skullcandy headphones, the Hesh ANC have a bass-heavy sound signature, which is going to rattle your head a decent amount, and these headphones also do the most head rattling here. So if you want to physically feel your music, then these are the ones to go with. Now, even though these headphones do have a lot of bass in them, their vocals are still very pronounced. But I do feel the highs on these headphones are a little too raised, so in certain circumstances, these headphones can get a little ear-piercing for a brief second. And unfortunately, you can't directly change the EQ on these headphones like with the Sennheisers. But nonetheless, if you're looking for headphones with lots of head-rattling bass, then these are the ones to get. And finally, there are the Sonys. Now, just like the Skullcandies, you can't directly adjust the EQ on these headphones, and I do think that's unfortunate, because you could with their predecessors. Now, the WH-CH710Ns have a bass-heavy EQ, but unlike the bass-heavy EQ on the Skullcandy, which will physically rattle your head, the bass on the Sonys is mostly on the audible side, so they aren't going to rattle your head as much. And unfortunately, since the mids on these headphones aren't very pronounced, these headphones do sound rather shallow. So if you want to actually hear the mids on these headphones, you gotta use them at higher volumes. And personally, I just don't like how the Sonys sound. So if you're looking for the headphones here with the best sound quality, then you want to go with the Sennheisers. And if you want the most head-rattling bass, then you'll want to go with the Skullcandy. Now, when it comes to the active noise cancellation on these headphones, the Skullcandies actually managed to block out the most amount of noise here, and I think that's a big deal because when the WH-CH710Ns first came out, I was impressed at the amount of noise they blocked out for a pair of entry-level headphones. But so that you can see for yourself, we're going to jump into an ANC test. So, like you may have just seen, the Skullcandies block out significantly more noise than both the Sonys and Sennheisers, but they're not without their drawbacks. Like I mentioned earlier, the ANC on the Skullcandy really changes how they sound. With their ANC turned on, they get narrowed up and their bass doesn't hit as hard, whereas the ANC on these other two headphones doesn't change how they sound. And also, the Hesh ANC have more cabin pressure than these other two headphones. Now, the cabin pressure on the Hesh ANC isn't unbearable and cause me headaches like other headphones out there, but you do feel a little something something. But the cabin pressure on the Skullcandies is bearable. But other than that, the ANC on all three of these headphones has zero hissing in the background, and all of their microphone arrays do a good job of blocking out wind noise when walking outdoors. So overall, even though the Skullcandies do block out the most amount of noise here, they do have their drawbacks to keep in mind. Whereas the Sonys are a good middle ground. They block out a decent amount of noise but with less cabin pressure and with minimal effects to its sound quality. But when it comes to their ambient modes, I gotta say it's a draw. Both the Sony WH-CH710N and Skullcandy Hesh ANC have very natural sounding ambient modes with zero hissing in the background, which is super important for when you're watching movies or videos with these headphones. And, like I mentioned earlier, their microphone array does a great job of blocking out wind noise when walking outdoors. But unfortunately, the Sennheisers don't have an ambient mode, which I do think is a real bummer. Now, before we jump into the microphone test, I do want to quickly point out that the Hesh ANC have tile support, whereas these other two headphones don't. Now, personally, I am indifferent about tile support on my headphones, and I would rather have an adjustable EQ on these headphones rather than tile, but it's there if you want it.
But finally, here's a microphone test. Now, the Sonys do have the worst sounding microphone here. There's a lot of amplification to it, but somehow I still manage to sound very shallow. Now, the microphone on the Sennheisers doesn't have as much amplification to it, but I still might sound a little shallow. Nonetheless, I do think the microphone on the Sennheisers is usable for like a quick phone call. But finally, here's the microphone on the Skullcandy Hesh ANC. Now, I might sound a little far away, but I do feel that this microphone sounds a lot better than the microphone found on the Sony WH-CH710N and the Sennheiser HD450BT.
So with all that being said, if you're looking for a pair of entry-level headphones, then all three of these are good options. But unfortunately, there isn't one pair that I can say is a definitive winner. The Sony WH-CH710N are the most comfortable and most convenient headphones here. They have the least amount of clamping force, they have the most spacious ear pads, their active noise cancellation has very little cabin pressure, they have a solid ambient mode, and they have the longest battery life here. But personally, I don't like how shallow they sound. Whereas the Skullcandy Hesh ANC block out the most amount of noise here, but they do have a little more cabin pressure, and their ANC does affect how they sound. So personally, I only use the ANC on these headphones when I have to. But these headphones do have a really good ambient mode as well, and they also have a very fun bass-heavy sound signature that is going to rattle your head a good amount. The thing is, these headphones might not fit everyone because of their firmer clamping force and smaller ear pads. And then there are the Sennheisers. These headphones are the best sounding here, and they also have an adjustable EQ. But these headphones do block out the least amount of noise here, and they also lack an ambient mode. And these headphones are the least comfortable headphones here because of their firmer fit and even more cramped earpads. But all in all of these headphones are good. It all just boils down to your needs. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit that like button and get subscribed. It helps out more than you realize. If you want to pick any of the products up mentioned in this video, those will be linked in the description down below, and you can also support the channel by checking out the merch store. But other than that, I'll catch you next time.